Hey there, Cacophony, and welcome to the Cacophony Sessions meets Standin Man. My name's Dan Whitell, and today I'm joined by former singer, rhythm guitarist of rock four-piece Sly Diggs, and now leading his own band, Standin Man. Please welcome Dean Fairhurst.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty straight away, because the first thing I like to ask all my guests, can you give me an example of an undeniable banger? An undeniable banger for the uninitiated is simply a song that everybody knows and everybody likes. What you got for me, Dean?
I'd probably choose Can You Hear Me Knocking by the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I do like that. I'm a big Stones fan. It wouldn't be in my sort of top 10 Stones tracks, but it's a good song.
No.
So we'll let you have that. That's a success. Off to a good start. I like it. I discovered Standin Man on the 5th of August. You were playing in Electric Brixton, and you were supporting a band which is one of my long-term favourites, Vintage Trouble. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be and your experience.
I've known the band for a while now, and I'd sort of played with them previously with Sly Diggs. After the hiatus of Sly Diggs, and I went into the pathway of creating this new artist and the band. We obviously recorded and did an album over the pandemic, and then we were looking to get out there on a tour. My belief is that you only really become a band when you tour, and obviously wanted to get out there and started playing the music. We played a few sort of warm-up shows and they did quite well. And I just noticed that they were touring at around that time, and our guys reached out and it fit with our schedule and it fit with us. We had the opportunity to go around Europe with them for about 16 days, I think, and then headed over to the UK. The European dates, they are probably one of the most intense touring schedules that I've done in the sense of the distance in traveling. But every gig was really good. I know people are always going to say that and not be pessimistic, but they really were. From a reaction point of view of playing to an audience that know nothing about you.
What about the language barrier then? I've listened to quite a lot of your songs and they're very lyrically dense. Lyrics seem to be a big thing for Standin Man. How do you find performing in front of an audience who maybe don't get the kind of intricacies of your songs? Do you have to change the set?
The only struggle I would say that you find is me talking on a microphone in some places, especially if they're oral, of understanding the accents. Yeah. Europeans are a lot more in tune with languages. So there's everywhere we toured, usually that a lot of people are bilingual anyway. We're not like the British.
Yeah, it's very much a British thing.
Like, we know English, so
we only need the one language.
Yes, it's so arrogant, isn't it? But the majority of them spoke English, so they understood the lyrics. And then some people had actually heard of us, so we'd only released a few songs, and some people had heard of us that had come to the shows. As the tour went on, there seemed to be more and more of those people that were attending the shows that had heard of us, and maybe from, Vintage Trouble or sort of social media posts, and people have checked us out knowing that they were going to. But in terms of changing the set around for them to understand it, no, I didn't really think about that. There's always so much to think about anyway. When
it's
you're
useful
doing
that you didn't need to. That's always good.
Yeah, a set is almost like an album anyway. You've got to tell a story in there. But also, if you're an artist that, nobody knows, you've got to think of the dynamic of a set, and you want to hit him hard. I like to, straight in the face, straight away, to just make people aware that, we're there and we're here and we're ready to put on a good show. But also try and snapshot, because you only have like a certain time anyway, as a sport band anyway, with like 35-minute set, I think it was. And I try to play the songs that best define me, really, and the album and the band. We change a few up every now and again, just to see if we can remember playing.
Yeah, it's good to keep it varied. But I suppose music is kind of the universal language. If you come out there with a big, heavy opener, it translates well across the board, I think.
Yeah, they do.
Supporting Vintage Trouble wasn't your first big support slot, because you've done recent shows with The Who. Now, in the States on tour with The Who as well, I believe. How was that?
Yeah, we did a full West Coast tour with The Who. with Sly Diggs. I did. That was incredible. It was one of those experiences. We'd gone from playing to small venues of our own headline shows, one or two support slots, and the opportunity came around through the management of the who now manage me and Standin Man. So they invited us over there to the second part of the American tour. We had issues of getting visas to do the full tour, which was both West Coast and East Coast. We missed the opportunity of playing Madison Square Gardens, which was a killer. But we had the opportunity to get out there, and we did it. And we started in Toronto, and it was the first time on a tour bus. So at the age that we were enjoying every moment and not letting it go.
You must have learned from Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey as well. Was there anything that you could say you picked up from observing the Who or speaking with them?
They were very kind to us, actually. They're certainly at the levels at which they are, and the artists that they are as individuals and as a band and musicians that they are, that in all fairness, they don't really have to go out their way to talk to us, but they did. And I really respected that. And it's good being backstage because you have a lot of time anyway. As Charlie Watts says, a lot of touring is, mainly waiting around. And it was true in the sense that there was days off in between. So we'd be walking around the cities and trying to see the sights. And then Pete came in and he was saying, I've seen you out on the road. We'd just be talking about music in general or just things in life. And they were very kind in bringing us into their circle. And the gigs were going so well that it was impossible for them not to hear what was actually happening on the stage. We were playing like LA Staples Arena. I remember one of them, and there was a big celebrity sort of crowd going on with like Ringo was in the audience and Keanu Reeves and all these people.
Wow.
We made such an impact from when we finished off the stage. After we finished the set, everyone backstage, we couldn't help but hear, the noise that the crowd were giving off in celebration of what we'd done. It painted the picture of what you could have. So the addiction that I describe with regards to music and needing more of this thing, I don't know what it is. From a performance point of view, being able to perform on arenas or size stages and certainly support the Who, seeing their ability as performers of how they work a stage or talk to an audience and most importantly, the catalogue that they have.
Yeah.
It was like hugely inspiring. And then also the fact that all these people, for so many years, are still going to see them and still enjoy that catalogue and what it means to the people seeing that night after night and how they do what they do. And yeah, it's great. It's who I aspire to be. Music is like my faith. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it is. It changes the game for me, and it changes the game for a lot of people. And I think if you have the skill of being able to carve and create songs that are respected in the way that their songs are respected, so you can change people's lives with it. Sort of corny that might sound. I think that's like such a powerful thing to have and a powerful thing to possess.
Yeah.
But there's so many different facets to the creation of music, isn't it? Both from a performance point of view, but it's always cathartic in me and having the ability to write songs and certainly play them to audiences.
Yeah.
I'll never get over the fact of what that gives me.
We started off with the hits of playing with Vintage Trouble and the Who, but tell us a little bit about who you were before then and what Standin Man is, what you see them projecting into the world.
I'd played in band before and I always had this sort of need to create. I always had a need to create anyway. At a young age, I couldn't really work out what it was until I formed the band or started learning guitar, certainly. But I remember starting writing songs before I could even really play the guitar. Louis Menga, my friend, that we sort of sat down with guitars in bedrooms, and he'd been playing before I had, because his father played like classical guitar. We quickly started just writing straight off the bat of even just like learning how to play instruments. And my father was sang in like an Irish band, and so we had some sort of influence in the background of us. And then that obsession started, and we moved forward.
Yeah,
did what we did, and then obviously me finding myself always on this journey of wanting to try new things and push myself artistically. I came out of that band and was thinking that I needed to do something else. And I remember even just in the name, the difficulty of choosing a name, whether I go on my own or I'm going under my own name, which is a lot of people saying that I should have gone on my own name. And I wasn't quite sure of it because I sort of thought it sounded like a footballer's name, like Dean Fairhurst. You don't see that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a very footballery name. Yeah.
I decided on choosing the name, which was taken from a news article. I was just searching and reading through things, and I think I must have been in some sort of rabbit hole anyway, and found this article in Turkey during some riots that had taken place. And there was a character that turned out to be Guts, this guy who was only known as the Standin Man, and he was standing out of what seemed to be the embassy there. And I seemed to get obsessed with this idea of silent defiance and what that represented, and that, you know, you can be defiant without shouting and screaming about it. He stood there and he was arrested just for standing there. And once he had returned out of this jail cell, he returned back, and that you know, that sort of fight in people, which I always resonate with. You know, the idea of defiance, it plays a part in my mind for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I've just spent many years of trying to be rebellious.
Well, I think we live in hyper-politicized times now as well. So I think it's quite easy to identify with these pockets of resistance, and rock music does go hand in hand with that kind of thing. So yeah, it's good to take a stance. You mentioned how you started writing songs before you've even played guitar. I've listened to the new album, Life Intimidating Art. It's really good. Some really good lyrics on there. How has your songwriting process changed now? Do you still write as a band, or are you writing the majority of these songs yourself and then translating them to be played by the band? How's that changed for you?
I never liked to write a song in the same way all the time. So there were different types of how I would do it. Initially, I would usually try and write the sort of theme of the song before I'd even put chords together, which I still do to this day on occasion. Or other occasions would be where, well, predominantly in any setup, I would usually have a song or the basis of a song already in place before I brought it to the band. Now, I've always done writing songs on acoustic. It's very rare that I would write it on electric. I've always done that, which is strange anyway, because it's sort of the harder instrument to sort of get most melodies out, but I like that challenge of it. You know, like piano is a lot easier to get melodies out in that respect. So I like the challenge of picking up the acoustic, and, you know, it's always seemed to work for me to some degree. Now in terms of like writing for the album and Life Intimidating Art, just the journey that I was going through from day to day, and I would be picking up the acoustic. There were some songs that I'd write in 2 seconds, or there's some songs that took a journey. I was listening to myself more, whereas at like a younger age, you'd be very flippant on what you say or how you do it. And it's like, right, let's get on to the next one. I was spending a little bit more time on some of the songs I think one of the songs I ended up writing about 15 different verses for the lyric. So like I went a bit crazy on it. Different themes of it, if it was, and then it was like a completely different melody structure to it. And I think it would be on Messiah it was. And so it's funny to go through that exercise. And again, you're talking back about that cathartic thing, maybe it was good. So, and then in some of the sort of themes that I would use, I used it for a different song. I just enjoy the process of writing. And sometimes you can pick a guitar up, or and you write nonsense and it's not very good, but it's the fact that you pick it up is you've already done work anyway, because it's not always easy to pick up a song and pick up a guitar and the song's already there. Sometimes you have to go and experience life a little bit before you can start thinking about what you're going to write about next. So, you know, coming off this recent tour in the summer, I came back very creative, and all of a sudden I was just picking up the guitar and seemed to be writing quite a lot. And it's strange like that, because I think there's something in the air and how you feel that if you hit it right, you can find yourself at a guitar and things just seem to be flowing quite easily. I was reading a book not that long ago called Isle of Noise. I don't know if you read that. And it's all about songwriters and their approaches to writing songs. Brendan Lynch showed it to me, music producer.
Oh, okay.
He produced Ocean Coliseum.
Yes.
One of my favorite albums. He's in it because I know I was laughing about it actually, because I didn't realize till halfway through that he's actually in it. So no wonder was suggesting me to read this book. But he was in it because he co-wrote Changing Man.
That's my favorite Paul Weller song.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So Brendan, he co-wrote that. Love the guy. Love working with him. Don't really seem to see it that much. And there's not many books or many sort of mediums where you can find songwriters talking in detail about how they write songs, right?
It's
So in
kind
this
of a
book,
secret,
you've
really, I
got
guess.
like,
They don't want too many people knowing.
no, I think songwriters are happy to talk about it. Maybe just people haven't really asked those questions. So in one of it, I think it's Neil Young, and he's talking about how he sees it is when, if he sits down at the guitar and he feels like a song's coming on, it's like a rabbit sort of popping its head out the hole, and like he'll go and make a cup of tea and then he'll return back, and not to scare the rabbit away. So he doesn't want to scare the song away. I resonated with that.
Yeah, you want to capture it as soon as it happens, really.
Yeah.
I know that,
but then, you can't force it.
I know that Prince, too, I'm a big fan of. I've been out to Paisley Park in Minneapolis, and every room in Paisley Park has some sort of recording access, so that if a song ever hit him, he could just press record and it would be recorded anywhere around Paisley Park complex.
If I had the finances that Prince had, I would definitely have recording equipment in every room possible.
It's the dream.
We played just across the road.
Oh, wow.
I think, in Minneapolis. Our tour bus broke down there, and it was like early on in the tour, I think. But the first tour bus we got, it was our first tour bus, so it could have looked like anything. We would have thought it was great. But then they had to change it to like a brand new, pristine one. So it went from like bad to, top tour bus. We had some fun in Minneapolis. And Prince, though, I've always been I think Prince had died as
2016,
well. I think it was around the time. 2016,
And speaking of other artists, what would you say are the most major influences on your current material, on what Standin Man are currently putting out? I
don't particularly remember me thinking specifically, right, I'm going to write a song that sounds like that, or this song inspires me in that respect. In 99% of the cases, how you start writing the song, it never turns out to sound exactly like that anyway. So it goes on a journey into all different directions. How far those directions go are based on, how you're feeling at the time and all that stuff. I was more concentrated on what I wanted from, not necessarily being different from what I'd done before. I was just letting the flow of the songs sort of happen. So working with like the producer, Jim Spencer, I think his influence is on that album to some degree, certainly with the people that he'd worked with before. I liked exploring the sort of sounds of it. There's some like Cooler Shaker on there, maybe some Small Faces stuff that sort of shines a little bit at the time of like the sort of drum beat that we were looking for with like Be-Ro Messiah, and that there's a sort of deserty sound to it as well as like a psychedelic thing. In most artists, there's a basis of influence. Mine would be like, the Stones and the Beatles. But then my influences would have changed quite a lot. I don't particularly think of a genre going, I only like rock music. I only like jazz or anything like that. I like anything that turns me on. So I think music is subjective in that respect. I'd listen more to the melody and the sonics of a song, and as well as the lyrics, than anything else, I think.
Have you ever listened to something that's maybe totally not rock music, maybe something poppier, maybe something out of hip hop or something like that you thought, oh, hang on, I'm feeling something here. I'm getting some ideas.
That happens quite a lot. Like even like Kanye West stuff. I always love the production on a lot of like Kanye West stuff, and then also little hooks of like jazzy things like Billie Holiday. I was listening to something the other day. And I like the sort of arrangement of things. I was discussing this with my brother not so long ago about when you listen to music, you can't listen to music like any other person that just listens to music and enjoys the moment. I'll always dissect it. And like my brain will always instantly listen to a song. I'm always dissecting it straight away without me even knowing. It's like a muscle memory thing.
Yeah.
Which, songwriters just do that in general, I think. But then if you do switch off, there's little things that you hear, and that's usually when I go, oh, that's an interesting thing. And it influences me of visualizing like a production side of things. So I would find influences that way, in something obscure from the traditional like Beatles and Stones thing or bluesy. So my mind or my influences progressed just in my journey and exploration into music. There's only so many times. I'm not just going to sit around and listen to Exile on Main Street every day of my life.
I mean, it is a good album.
I will always return back to it at some point. But, I want to hear something new, and I want to hear, what's happening in the music industry now and different artists that, I listened to recently. I listened to some folk as well, quite a lot. I like Jim James, the guy out of My Morning Jacket. He's very good. Or there's like a band called Flight, Flyte. That's like quite folky, Crosby, Stills and Nash sort of vibe. If I hear something that's really good or it resonates me and it evokes some sort of feeling, it inspires me to go, oh, I need to go and pick my guitar up. I need to write something, because that's just like inspired me of going, fuck, how someone just wrote that song.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's like being a conduit of all these different musical ideas that come through. And then it's knowing to not just switch something off because it's come from a song you've heard on Radio 1 or something like that. So being open to different genres, I find that it increases your versatility as an artist. And I mean, I listen to Life Intimidating Art and I can hear a lot of sort of American cinematic psychedelic influences on some of it. It's great that you kind of build in all these different influences and you don't necessarily think about where they've come from. They just increase your overall output as an artist.
The songs that I love the most of the ones that I've written is when you're in this sort of zone of concentrating, but not concentrating. I try not to think about them that much. Some people might say, oh, that sounds very much like this song or that song, or as people tend to do anyway, but I never sit down and go, I'm going to write a song that sounds exactly like that. I have done it in the past, but then I go, that does sound pastiche.
You'd want to avoid those potholes, really.
Oh, definitely.
Life Intimidating Art, I had a signed copy, because, I go to the gigs and stuff. It's not available on Apple Music. I'm not sure about Spotify because I don't use Spotify because,
No, it's not released at the moment. So that's the funny thing. We were doing this tour and we didn't have that huge amount of time to arrange for the tour anyway, and Brexit and all that nonsense. So in terms of creating revenue, they thought it was a good idea to get the music out there before we actually released it online. There's still a lot of people that listen to CDs, or they go over to Europe and everyone's going, have you got any vinyl? Even to the UK, it was like, have you got any vinyl? It was like, oh no, we've not a chance to really get that out, but there will be vinyl coming out. We're just having meetings of when that's going to be released. We've got some headline shows, I think, in the UK coming up in a couple of months' time, maybe in November time.
Yeah.
So be then. Who knows? We don't know at the moment. The landscape of music changes dramatically, and it's strange. Like, there's so many mediums and so many different places to listen to music.
Yeah, it's great for the consumer now because as you say, you've got vinyl, you've got CD, but you've got the streaming services as well. But I guess it puts pressure on you as an artist to make sure that you've got an up-to-date social media account. You've got your album coming out. You've got plans for it to be released on all platforms. It must be quite stressful, I imagine.
It's really easy to go, oh, the old way was amazing and great and fuck the new world and all this shit. And it is easy, and there is some elements of that you go, fucking hell, it's a bit crazy now and it's harder for the artist. But also there's elements of excitement to not know what the future holds. I think from the genre and the music I play, it's been or rock and roll in that sense, and guitar bands have been the underdog for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing anymore because there's a demand for it. I mean, just been to Europe and then come to England, I'm apprehensive of how our society in the UK, looks upon it, and a certain, like, the major labels and how music gets out there quick enough, and how many sort of solo artists are prominent now. And it's all like sort of box ticking exercises in some degree of what the big bands that get out there. But I think that there is musicians that are working very hard to sort of write songs, and they're amazing musicians, amazing songwriters. They're not getting the platform at this moment, but you have to spend all your time in more than just actually writing songs, All the social media thing. The one negative side of it is the fact that there's no mystique anymore, right? It wasn't just the music. There's a reason why I'm obsessed with that artist, and because there is a story and background to it. Now that mystique element is gone. There's one or two artists that still create that mystique, but that's because they broke before social media got as big as it was. Like the Arctic Monkeys, for example, right? They can retain their mystique, which I think is very good. But now as an artist starting out, you have to spend all this time in creating content and doing those things. That takes a lot of thought time and process to go, I don't want to be just like picking up a phone and fucking speaking to a phone on a camera all the time. That's not me. And what the fuck has that got to do with the music and the songs that I write? Right? I don't want it. There's too much elements of things being contrived more than there ever was. And that's the negative part. The other part is that you can get out to audiences quicker than you would having to tour until you can really start filling big venues.
Yeah.
For bands and acts, it is expensive. So having a platform like social media is you can get your music and get out there to people that you would never usually really play to.
The purpose of the Cacophony Sessions here, we're just putting bands on the map, essentially. We just want to have a casual chat, find out who you are, what people might be interested in. I guess we can kind of wrap it up by allowing you to tell us a little bit about where we can find you, and if you do have any plans where our Cacophants can check you out.
You can check us out on social media. We're going in the studio this month too. We might be releasing something that's not on the album. I'm with a mind of releasing the album pretty soon, but we should be touring around certainly the UK in around November time. So you've got to keep your ears to the ground.
We're based in Plymouth. Any news on coming down to the southwest at all?
You know what? I actually love playing down south. I'm told that there is, so I'm sure we will be down somewhere in that neck of the woods.
You have to let us know so we can let the listeners know where to be to check you out, because I did hear you as a support act, and you covered Eleanor Rigby, which is always bold, but it was an incredible version. And you got to sing a duet with Ty Taylor of Vintage Trouble as well, including coming back out on the end to do the encore, which was White Rabbit. Everybody loves White Rabbit. It just looks so much fun. I really love what you guys are bringing to the stage. The studio output's great. As I say, cinematic sounding, classic rock, big heavy guitars, great vocals, great lyrics. You can really get into that. And I would implore everyone listening to go and check out Standin Man, because I think you're great, and I'm sure we'll be able to hear more from you in the future. Definitely. I'd be keeping an eye out, an ear out even.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate
No worries.
That. Yeah. We had a good time.
You can check out Cacophony Sessions at cacophonisessions.com for what's going on with us and all our next podcast episodes and videos. But yeah, make sure you go and follow Dean and Standin Man on their socials, and have a look on the streaming services, because Life Intimidating Art will be out soon. You heard it here first. Make sure you stay funky.
Thanks, mate.